It's December 30th, 2025, and I'm sitting in a coffee shop in downtown Chicago, looking back at the last 2 years of my life. If you had told me on January 1st, 2024, where I'd be right now, I would have laughed in your face. Not because it seemed impossible, because I literally couldn't have imagined being this person. The girl I was on New Year's Day 2024 and the woman I am today are so different. We might as well be strangers. Same body, same name. Completely different life. 2 years ago, I was 23 years old, fresh out of college with a degree in communications, $47,000 in student loan debt, living in my childhood bedroom in my parents' house in suburban Ohio, working part-time at Target for $15 an hour, with no clear direction, no real faith, no savings, and honestly, no hope that anything would ever change. I was the poster child for millennial failure to launch. That degree everyone told me I needed. Worthless. That bright future everyone promised. Nowhere to be found. That American dream my parents believed in. Dead on arrival. But today, December 30th, 2025, I'm 25 years old. I live in my own apartment in Chicago. I have a career I love that pays me $75,000 a year. I've paid off $30,000 of my student loans. I have $12,000 in savings. I'm in the best shape of my life. I have a faith that actually sustains me instead of just being something I inherited. I have clarity about who I am and where I'm going. And it all started with one decision, one single decision on January 1st, 2024. A decision that sounded crazy when I made it. A decision that most people told me was unrealistic. A decision that changed absolutely everything. If you're watching this at the end of 2024 or the beginning of 2025, feeling like your life is going nowhere, feeling like you're stuck in a rut you can't escape, feeling like everyone else has it figured out except you, this story is for you. Because I was you. And if I can transform my life in 24 months, starting from rock bottom, so can you. But before I tell you what happened, I need you to do something. Hit that like button right now, because this isn't just my story. It's a roadmap, and every like tells YouTube to show this to someone else who needs to hear that change is possible. Subscribe to this channel. We're sharing real stories of real people who transformed their lives, not through luck or privilege, but through decisions and discipline. And comment below, tell me, what's one thing you want to change in 2025? Make it specific. Make it real. I read every comment. Now let me take you back to where it all began. New Year's Eve 2023. The night that changed everything. My name is Olivia Martinez. I'm 25 years old. But this story really begins when I was 23, on December 31st, 2023. New Year's Eve. Everyone loves New Year's Eve. Right? Fresh start. New beginnings. Anything is possible. Except I hated it. Because New Year's Eve was just a reminder of another year I'd wasted, another year of being stuck, another year of disappointing everyone who believed in me, including myself. I'd graduated from Ohio State University in May 2023 with a bachelor's degree in communications. I'd done everything right, at least according to the script I'd been given my whole life. Good grades in high school, got into a decent college, picked a major that was supposed to be practical and versatile, joined clubs, made connections, did internships, graduated with a 3.4 GPA. I was supposed to walk across that stage, shake the dean's hand, move my tassel, and step into my bright future. That's how it was supposed to work, right? Except it didn't work. Because here's what nobody tells you about graduating college in your 20s in the 2020s. That degree doesn't guarantee anything. Those connections, most of them were other broke college kids who also couldn't find jobs. Those internships. Unpaid labor that looked good on a resume, but didn't translate to actual employment. I applied to 137 jobs between May and December 2023. Marketing coordinator, social media manager, communications specialist, public relations assistant, entry-level anything. Anything that used my degree. Anything that paid more than $40,000 a year. Anything that felt like it was worth the $47,000 in student loan debt I'd taken on. I got 7 interviews. I got 0 job offers. I was either overqualified or underqualified, or didn't have enough experience or had the wrong kind of experience, or didn't fit the culture, or they went with an internal candidate. Every rejection email felt like a personal indictment. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You wasted 4 years and $47,000 on a degree that's worthless. You're a failure at 23. By August 2023, I gave up, stopped applying. Moved back into my childhood bedroom at my parents' house in suburban Cleveland. Got a job at Target because I needed money and they were hiring $15 an hour. Part-time, 25 hours a week if I was lucky. About $1,500 a month before taxes, $200 after taxes. My student loan payment was $350 a month. My car insurance was $180. My phone bill was $75. I tried to give my parents $200 a month for rent and food, but most months I couldn't afford it. I had maybe $400 a month for gas, food, emergencies, and trying to pretend I had a life. I couldn't afford to go out with friends, couldn't afford to date, could barely afford to eat anything other than ramen and whatever my mum cooked. I was 23 years old, a college graduate, living with my parents, working retail, and going absolutely nowhere. My parents tried to be supportive. They really did. My mum would say things like, "The right opportunity will come along, just be patient." My dad, who'd worked at the same manufacturing plant for 30 years, couldn't understand why I wasn't applying to more jobs. You're just not trying hard enough. When I was your age, I walked into a factory and got hired on the spot. You kids expect everything to be handed to you. He didn't mean to be hurtful. He just didn't understand that the economy he'd entered at 23 didn't exist anymore. My younger brother, still in high school, would make jokes. "How's your fancy degree working out for you?" That hurt worse than anything my parents said because it was true. My fancy degree wasn't working out at all. I'd go to my old college friends' social media pages and see them posting about their new jobs, their new apartments, their new lives. And I'd feel this toxic mixture of jealousy and shame and anger. Why them and not me? What did they do that I didn't do? Why was I the one stuck? By December 2023, I was in a dark place. Not suicidal or anything dramatic like that. Just empty, numb, going through the motions. Wake up, go to Target, smile at customers, stock shelves, go home, eat dinner with my parents while they pretended not to be disappointed in me, scroll through social media and feel terrible about myself, go to sleep, repeat. That was my life. That was my future. Forever. Or at least, that's what it felt like. I'd stopped going to church. I'd grown up Catholic, went to Mass every Sunday as a kid, did my first communion, got confirmed. But I'd stopped going in college and never started again. Not because I didn't believe in God, I just didn't see the point. If God was real and God cared, why was my life such a mess? Why did I do everything right and end up with nothing? Why were people who partied and skipped class and barely graduated doing better than me? I didn't want to sit in a church and hear about how God has a plan when his plan apparently involved me being broke and stuck. At 23. New Year's Eve 2023. My parents were having a party at our house. Nothing big, just some neighbors and family friends. People drinking cheap champagne and pretending to be excited about 2024. I couldn't handle it, couldn't handle the small talk, the inevitable questions. "So, Olivia, what are you up to these days? Still at Target? Have you found a real job yet? Any plans for the new year?" I slipped out around 10 p.m., told my mom I was going to a friend's party. I wasn't. I didn't have any friends nearby anymore. Everyone had scattered after graduation. I drove to this park near my parents' house. It was freezing, probably 25 degrees, but I didn't care. I sat on a bench overlooking this little pond, wrapped in my winter coat, and just watched my breath form clouds in the cold air. I could hear fireworks starting in the distance, people celebrating, and I felt nothing. Just empty. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Instagram, everyone posting their New Year's Eve plans, everyone excited about 2024, everyone optimistic and hopeful and delusional. I thought about posting something too, something fake and cheerful, excited for what 2024 has in store. But I couldn't do it because I wasn't excited. I was terrified. Terrified that 2024 would be exactly like 2023. that I'd still be working at Target, still living with my parents, still going nowhere, that I'd be 24, and then 25, and then 30, and still stuck, still failing, still disappointing everyone, still hating myself. I sat there in the cold and felt tears running down my face, not dramatic sobbing, just quiet tears of someone who'd run out of hope. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. "Where are you? It's almost midnight. Come home." I stared at that text. I could go home. Fake smile through the countdown. Pretend 2024 was going to be different. Or I could stay here, in the cold, in the truth, in the acknowledgement that I had no idea what I was doing with my life. I typed back, "I'm okay. Just needed some air. I'll be home soon." Then I opened my notes app. I don't journal, never have. But something made me start typing. I wrote, December 31st, 2023, 11:47 p.m. I'm 23 years old. I have a college degree I can't use, $47,000 in debt, no career, no money, no direction, no faith, no hope. I'm living with my parents, working retail, going nowhere. Everyone I graduated with is moving forward except me. I feel like a failure. I feel stuck. I feel like I'm wasting my life. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to become the person I thought I'd be by now. I sat there staring at those words, and then I kept typing. But here's what I do know. I know that if I don't change something, if I don't do something different, 2024 will be exactly like 2023. And I can't do another year like this. I can't. So I'm making a decision, right here, right now. I'm giving myself 24 months, 2 years, January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2025. 2 years to completely transform my life, to figure out who I am, to build a career, to get my finances in order, to become someone I'm proud of. I don't know how yet. I don't have a plan yet, but I'm making a commitment. 24 months, all in. No excuses, no giving up, no more drifting. It's time to build. I stared at those words. They sounded crazy, dramatic, unrealistic. Who makes declarations like that? Who thinks they can transform their entire life in 2 years? But then I thought, what's the alternative? Keep doing what I'm doing. Keep drifting. Keep failing. Keep hating my life. That didn't seem like a better option. So I screenshotted what I'd written, sent it to myself in an email, and I made a promise to myself. Starting January the 1st, 2024, everything changes. I didn't know how yet, but I'd figure it out. I had to. Midnight came. I heard fireworks exploding all over the city, people celebrating 2024. I sat alone on a bench in the cold and whispered out loud to myself, to God, to the universe, to whoever was listening. Here we go. 2 years. Let's see what happens. Then I drove home. My parents were cleaning up from their party. My mom asked if I'd had fun at my friend's party. I lied and said yes. I went to my childhood bedroom, looked around at the posters and trophies from high school, the remnants of a girl who thought she had her whole life figured out. And I made a decision. Tomorrow, January 1st, 2024, I start. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I was about to figure it out. Can I pause here? Because I need you to understand something. That moment on the bench, that decision to give myself 24 months, that wasn't some Hollywood transformation moment. I didn't feel empowered or motivated or ready to conquer the world. I felt desperate, scared, out of options. But sometimes that's what it takes. You don't change when you're comfortable. You change when staying the same becomes more painful than the fear of trying something new. So let me ask you, are you there? Are you at that moment where staying stuck hurts more than the risk of change? If you are, comment below. Just 3 words. I'm ready now. That's it. Put it in writing, because the comments section of this video has become a place where people make commitments, where they draw lines in the sand, where they say, this is my moment. And if this story is resonating, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because you're going to want to see where this goes. Trust me. Now let me tell you what happened on January 1st, 2024, the day everything started to change. January 1st, 2024. I woke up at 10 a.m. with a headache even though I hadn't drunk anything the night before. Just stress and poor sleep. I lay in my childhood bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the commitment I'd made to myself less than 12 hours ago. 24 months to transform my life. It sounded even more ridiculous in the morning light. How was I supposed to do that? I had no money, no job, no connections, no plan. Where was I even supposed to start? I grabbed my phone and reread what I'd written in my notes. 2 years, all in, no excuses. Okay, Olivia, if you're serious about this, you need a plan. I opened a new note and started writing. Goals for 2024-2025. Number 1. Career. Find a real job in my field or build a career that actually uses my brain and pays real money. Target. $50,000 plus those by end of 2024. Number 2. Finances. Pay off student loans aggressively. Build emergency fund. Get out of my parents and house. Number 3. Faith. Figure out what I actually believe and why. Stop drifting spiritually. Number 4. Health. Get in shape. Feel good in my body. Have energy. Number 5. Relationships. Stop isolating. Build real community. Date like an adult instead of avoiding it because I'm broke and embarrassed. Number 6. Personal growth. Read. Learn. Become someone I'm proud of. I stared at that list. It looked overwhelming. Where was I even supposed to start? I decided to start with the one thing I could control immediately: faith. Because if I was going to do this, if I was going to commit to 2 years of transformation, I needed something bigger than myself to anchor to. I needed to figure out what I actually believed. So on January 1st, 2024, I made myself a promise. I was going to church, not my parents', Catholic church, where everyone knew me as the girl who'd failed to launch. A new church. Somewhere I could be anonymous. Somewhere I could figure out my faith on my own terms. I Googled churches near me, found one called New Life Community Church that had a 5 p.m. service on Sundays. Perfect. I wouldn't have to get up early, wouldn't have to explain to my parents where I was going. I could just slip out. So I went. I put on jeans and a sweater, drove to this church I'd never been to, and walked in. The place was packed. Probably 800 people. Young families, college kids, older folks, everyone. I slipped into the back row and just watched. The music was good. Not boring hymns, actual music. The pastor was young, maybe 35, and he didn't talk like a stuffy religious person. He talked like a normal human. His message that day was about new beginnings, about how God specializes in taking broken things and making them beautiful, about how it's never too late to start over. I'm not going to lie and say it was some magical moment where everything clicked and I suddenly had faith, but something in me shifted, just slightly. The idea that maybe, just maybe, my life wasn't over at 23, that maybe this feeling of being stuck and broken wasn't permanent, that maybe there was a path forward I just hadn't seen yet. After the service, I didn't talk to anyone, just left. But I decided I'd come back next week. It was a start. That night, I made a commitment. Every Sunday I'd go to church, not because I had to, not because my parents made me, but because I was choosing to figure out what I believed. That was day 1. Day 2, January 2nd. I woke up and thought about my career goal. I needed a real job. But 8 months of applying to 137 positions had taught me something. The traditional path wasn't working. Sending resumes into black holes online wasn't working. Waiting for someone to notice me wasn't working. I needed a different strategy. I spent the day researching, reading articles about career transitions, watching videos about people who'd built unconventional careers, and I kept seeing the same advice. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Start building. Start creating. Start proving you can do the work. I had a degree in communications. I knew how to write, how to create content, how to manage social media, but I had no portfolio, no proof, so I decided to build one. I created a website using a free Wix template. Nothing fancy, just my name, a photo, and 3 sections. About me, services, contact. Under services, I listed social media management, content creation, copywriting, email marketing. I had no clients, no experience, but I needed to start somewhere. Then I did something that felt terrifying and audacious. I posted on my personal Instagram and Facebook, "Hey everyone, starting 2024 with a new venture. I'm officially offering freelance social media and content services. If you or anyone you know owns a small business and needs help with Instagram, Facebook, content creation or copywriting, I'd love to chat. First month 50% off for my first 3 clients. DM me." I held my breath and posted it. Immediately felt like an imposter. Who was I to offer these services? I'd never had a client, never run a real campaign, never done anything except stock shelves at Target, but I'd also done internships, run social media for student clubs in college. I knew more than I gave myself credit for. I just needed to act like it. Within 2 hours, I got a DM from a girl I'd gone to high school with. Her mom owned a small boutique in downtown Cleveland and had no idea how to use Instagram. Could I help? I nearly screamed. Yes. I messaged back. Absolutely. Let's set up a call. We set up a call for the next day. I spent that entire night researching social media for small businesses, how to create content, how to write captions, how to use hashtags, how to drive engagement. I took notes like I was studying for a final exam, because in a way this was my test. This was my chance. January 3rd, I had the call with Mrs. Patterson, my high school friend's mom. She was in her 50s, lovely, overwhelmed, and had no idea how social media worked. Her boutique had been struggling since COVID. She needed to get online but didn't know how. I walked her through a strategy, posting 3 times a week, using local hashtags, highlighting products, telling her story, building community. She loved it. She hired me on the spot, $300 a month to manage her Instagram and Facebook, create content, write captions, respond to comments. I nearly cried. $300, it wasn't much, but it was more than nothing. It was a start. It was proof that maybe I could do this. Over the next 3 weeks, I landed 2 more clients, a local gym, a coffee shop, both through word of mouth, both small budgets, my $250 and $200 a month. Combined with Mrs. Patterson, I was making $750 a month freelancing. On top of my target income of $200, I was now making $1,250 a month. Not a lot, but it was movement. It was progress. It was proof that I wasn't stuck. By the end of January, I'd made $750 from freelancing, learned more in 4 weeks than I had in 4 years of college, and started to feel something I hadn't felt in months, hope, just a little. But it was there. Week 5. February. I was working my tail off. Target shifts, 25 hours a week. Then coming home and spending every free moment working on my clients, social media, creating content, writing captions, responding to comments, analyzing metrics. I was exhausted. But it was different than before. Before, I was exhausted from feeling stuck. Now I was exhausted from building something. And that made all the difference. I was still going to church every Sunday, still figuring out my faith. One week the pastor talked about stewardship, about how God gives us resources and expects us to be faithful with them. It hit me hard, because I hadn't been faithful with my money. I'd been careless. I was making almost $2,000 a month now, but I wasn't tracking where it went. I'd pay my student loan, pay my parents, pay my car insurance and phone, and the rest would just disappear. Fast food, Target runs for stuff I didn't need, subscriptions I'd forgotten about. So I made a budget. First time in my life, I wrote down every dollar, every expense, and I was shocked. I was wasting $400 a month on stupid stuff. Subscriptions I didn't use. Eating out because I was too lazy to pack lunch. Buying clothes at Target because I got a discount. Random junk I didn't need. If I cut that out, I'd have an extra $400 a month. Combined with the $750 from freelancing, I could be putting $150 a month toward my goals. I made a plan: $350 to student loans, $400 to savings for moving out, $400 to building my business. That left me with maybe $100 a month for fun. Not much, but it was a plan. It was intentional. It was disciplined. And for the first time, I felt like I had control over my money instead of it controlling me. By the end of February, I'd saved $400. First time I'd ever had savings in my life, paid my student loan, reinvested in my business by buying a Canva Pro subscription and some stock photos. Small steps, but they were forward. Month 3, March. I hit a wall. The initial excitement of starting my freelance business wore off. The reality set in. I was working 60 hours a week between Target and freelancing, making less than $2,000 a month. Still living with my parents, still single, still struggling. My college friends were posting about promotions and vacations and engagement rings, and I was scheduling Instagram posts for a boutique at midnight after an 8-hour Target shift. I had a moment of doubt, a moment where I thought, what am I doing? This is never going to work. I'm never going to make real money. I'm never going to get out of my parents' house. This was a stupid idea. I called my best friend from college, Amy. She was living in New York, working in marketing, making $65,000 a year. I told her everything, the freelancing, the exhaustion, the doubt. She listened. Then she said, Olivia, you're 3 months in. Did you really think you'd transform your entire life in 3 months? You gave yourself 24 months for a reason. This is the hard part. The middle. The grust. Everyone quits here. Don't be everyone. I needed to hear that because she was right. I'd given myself 24 months. I was 3 months in. I had 21 months left. This was exactly when most people quit, when the initial excitement fades and the real work begins. So I didn't quit. I kept going. Month 4, April. Something shifted. My Instagram posts for Mrs. Patterson's boutique started getting traction. Her follower count doubled. Her sales increased 30%. She was thrilled. She told her friend who owned a spa. Her friend hired me $400 a month. Now I was making $150 from freelancing, plus my target income $2,350 a month total. I was officially making more from freelancing than from Target. And I realized something. What if I went all in on this? What if I quit Target and focused 100% on building my freelance business? It was a terrifying thought. Target was stable, guaranteed hours, steady paycheck. Quitting felt risky, stupid even, but I thought about my 24-month commitment. I wasn't trying to play it safe. I was trying to transform my life, and transformation requires risk. So on April 30th, 2024, I gave Target my 2 weeks' notice. My manager was confused. You're quitting to do social media. You know that's not a real career, right? I smiled. Maybe, but I'm going to find out. My parents were nervous. Are you sure about this? What if it doesn't work? What if you can't get enough clients? I wasn't sure. I was terrified. But I was committed. May 15th of 2024 was my last day at Target. I walked out of that store for the last time and felt this mixture of fear and freedom. No more retail, no more safety net, just me and my laptop and my 5 clients. Time to see what I was made of. Month 6, June 2024. I was 6 months into my 24-month commitment. Half a year, I'd left Target, was freelancing full-time, had 7 clients, was making about $2,200 a month. Not amazing, but enough to live on. I'd saved $2,400 in my moving out fund, paid off $2,100 of my student loans, started going to a life group at church where I was actually making friends, people my age who were also figuring out their lives and their faith. I was running 3 times a week, had lost 15 pounds, was sleeping better, felt healthier. My life was different than it had been 6 months ago. Not transformed yet, but different, improved, moving. Then I got a message that changed everything. A message on LinkedIn from a woman named Jen who ran a digital marketing agency in Chicago. She'd seen my work on Instagram, seen what I'd done for my clients, wanted to know if I'd be interested in joining her agency as a social media manager. Salary, $55,000 plus benefits. Start date, August 1st. I stared at that message for 10 minutes. $55,000. A real job. In my field, in a real city, with benefits, with a salary. This was what I'd been applying for 8 months ago, what I'd wanted, what I'd thought I needed. But now, 6 months into my freelance business, I wasn't sure. I was making about $26,000 a year freelancing, way less than $55,000, but I was my own boss, set my own hours, worked from anywhere, built my own thing. What should I do? I prayed about it, talked to my life group, talked to Amy. Everyone had different advice. Some said take the job, security, salary, stability. Others said keep freelancing, independence, growth potential, build something of your own. I spent a week agonizing over it. Then I realized something. My 24-month commitment wasn't just about making money. It was about building a life I was proud of, about becoming someone I respected. And I respected the version of me who took a risk and built something from nothing more than the version who played it safe. So I messaged Jen back. Thank you so much for the offer. It means the world that you'd consider me, but I'm going to stay with my freelance business. I think there's something here I need to see through. She responded immediately, I respect that. If you ever change your mind, let me know, and if you ever need advice or want to collaborate, I'm here. The fact that you turned down a $55,000 salary to keep building your own thing tells me you're going to be just fine. I closed my laptop and cried. Not sad tears, proud tears, because 2 years ago, I would have taken that job without thinking. But I wasn't that person anymore. I was someone who bet on herself, and that felt better than any salary. Months 7 through 12, July through December 2024. The second half of 2024 was a blur. I picked up more clients, raised my rates, started saying no to clients who weren't a good fit. By December I had 12 clients and was making $4,500 a month, $54,000 a year. More than that job offer had been. I moved out of my parents' house in October, got a small studio apartment in Columbus. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. First place of my own. My parents helped me move. My dad cried. Not because he was sad, because he was proud. I'd paid off $8,000 of my student loans, had $5,000 saved, was in the best shape of my life, had a community at church, had friends, had purpose, had faith. On December 31st, 2024, exactly 1 year after I'd sat on that bench and made my 24-month commitment, I sat in my own apartment and looked back. I'd gone from working at Target making $200 a month to running my own freelance business making $4,500 a month. From living with my parents to living on my own. From $47,000 in debt to $39,000. From no savings to $5,000. From no faith to a growing faith. From lost to found. It wasn't perfect. I still had $39,000 in debt. Still had 1 more year of my commitment. Still had goals to hit. But I'd done what I said I'd do. I'd transformed. And I had 12 more months to keep going. Year 2. January through December 2025. If the first year was about building a foundation, the second year was about building an empire. I raised my rates in January. Started charging $500, $800 per client instead of $200, $400. Lost 3 clients who couldn't afford the increase. Gained 6 new ones who could. By March, I was making $6,000 a month, $72,000 a year. I hired my first subcontractor, a graphic designer to help with content creation. Paid her $1,500 a month and freed up 15 hours of my time per week. Used those 15 hours to take on more clients and learn new skills. By June 2025, I'd paid off another $15,000 in student loans. Had $10,000 saved. Was debt-free except for $24,000 left in student loans. I moved to Chicago in August. Always wanted to live there. Found a 1-bedroom apartment in Logan Square. Started going to a church called Willow Creek. Met a guy named David at a church event. Started dating for the first time in years, not because I needed a relationship, but because I was finally confident enough to want one. By December 2025, 2 years after my commitment, I was making $7,500 a month, $90,000 a year. Had paid off $23,000 in student loans, had $12,000 saved, was living in Chicago, dating someone I actually liked, leading a small group at church, running a business I was proud of, mentoring other young women trying to start freelance careers, and I was unrecognizable from the girl I'd been 24 months earlier, not because I got lucky, not because someone gave me a handout, but because I made a decision. One decision on January 1st, 2024. A decision to stop drifting and start building, and that decision changed everything. Let me tell you something. I'm sitting here on December 30th, 2025, and I still can't believe this is my life. 2 years ago, I was working at Target, living with my parents, $47,000 in debt, with no hope. Today, I'm a business owner making $90,000 a year, living in my dream city, nearly debt-free, with a faith that sustains me and a life I love. And it all started with 24 months. What could your next 24 months look like? What if you made one decision today? What if you committed? What if you stopped waiting for permission and started building? Comment below. Tell me what you're committing to for 2025-2026. Make it specific. Make it real. Make it happen. And if this story inspired you, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear that change is possible. Your 24 months start now. What are you going to build? Verse for your meditation. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. You're not stuck. You're just getting started.